And joining us, feel honored on this first Friar Friday, the president of baseball operations for the San Diego Padres, general manager AJ Preller is with us. AJ, congratulations on yesterday's win.
Oh, appreciate it, guys. Good way to start the year. So thanks for having me.
Get like I don't know, like 103 more of those would probably set a lot of minds at ease. Nobody's mind more than yours, I'm sure, AJ. It was a pretty epic day at the ballpark. It always is, but we were talking earlier in the show about the brand of baseball that the San Diego Padres play now. It's a different one, and I know that you're involved in that, and Victor Rodriguez and Mike Schilt. Talk a little bit, if you could, about the kind of brand of baseball you're seeing from your players year in and year out now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we've pushed here for a while now. In terms of we've been a team that's been for again, it's just good baseball. When you're smart and aggressive, and you have a chance to score runs a lot of different ways. And I think really over the last 5 years we have a super athletic team, and we can do different things. And what we've seen in the last 2 years with Shilty and the group is the value they place on just being able to advance 90 feet, score different ways, the base running aspect of it. I mean, just things that, again, from the time you're a kid, that leads to winning and putting up offensive runs. There's a lot of attention to detail for it. Our group does a great job with it, and we saw it yesterday how it resulted in, I think Tadia said, I think a small ball leading to big ball at times. And yesterday, kind of all phases, it was working for us, and was able to beat a great pitcher in Chris Sale and a good team in Atlanta because of it.
AJ, I wanted to kind of ask you about something similar, and that is, not every team obviously plays with that style. There are other winning styles. The Yankees don't play anything like the Padres, and they got to the World Series last year. When you're putting together the team, though, does it matter? I mean, it's a really entertaining, fun form of baseball. It's good for fans. I mean, we love watching how the Padres play, but do you put the team together kind of because of that, or is it simply because you think that's the best way to win baseball games? And if you thought there was a better way to win, then you would do it differently?
I mean, I think you're always kind of looking at your personnel, and then your staff is able to based on your personnel, that kind of leads a little bit to the style of play. But just again, I think the ability to run the bases, you can do that whether you're the fastest guy in the league, or whether you're a guy that's a below average runner. Like being able to understand situation and kind of the tips and tells. David Macias, Tim Leeper, those guys do a great job on that front. And Shilty, just he emphasizes it. It's something like in the ball talks every single day that the group has. We highlight it. Spring training is not kind of just getting your work in and your reps in. I think the work that they put in spring training, it shows yesterday. So again, I think a combination of having some players that can do it from a personnel standpoint, valuing it as an organization for sure, and then just understanding like from a style of play, that's it's usually just good winning baseball and what that looks like. And it's fun to watch it yesterday for sure.
It really was. Talking to AJ Preller here on Ben and Woods this morning, and AJ, Mike Schilt was talking about, man, he said this is one of the hardest roster crunches I've ever had to go through. We got a lot of deserving players that probably deserve spots on this team, and then look, you guys had to let go of some guys, and potentially there's a chance for some guys to stay in the organization, whatever. But for you, out of all the years you've done this, where does this rank as in roster crunch for you? How difficult was it?
It was, again, I know the last really like kind of started like maybe 3 weeks before we knew we had to break camp. Myself, Mike, our analysts, our scouting group, they were pretty much every night we're hanging out in the complex there in Peoria, and got the whiteboard up, and we're going, man, we're 7 names, 8 names, 9, it ended up being 10 or 11 names that are for 5 spots. So hopefully a good sign in terms of for the season, having depth. And it's always a good thing when you have options and have tough decisions. But there were some really tough conversations over the last couple of days, because we could have gone a lot of different ways with the team and the roster. Obviously some of it was keeping depth, some of it was kind of the balance and blend, veteran, youth, athleticism, et cetera. And the good news is, the guys that we brought in, they made it, made us have some tough calls. And then I think looking forward to the rest of the year, I think we know that, there's going to be competition at the big league level. And as we need to see other pieces, whether we want to kind of change the look or style of our team, whether we have injuries and need some guys to come up and play well, we've got some guys throughout the organization that are going to be able to help us. That was all, that was all part of the decision. So obviously we went with the group we went to, but, Oscar Gonzalez, Tirso, Connor Joe, Tyler. There was so many different ways we could have gone with it. And, I think exciting, but probably as tough of any calls here, this last few weeks in terms of just rounding out the roster.
And the one in particular, Eggy Rosario, who's been in the organization so long. And I thought your comments were telling. You said he's a big league player.
Yeah.
We just don't have a spot for him. And I assume you think you're probably going to lose him here. How does that work? And I know you got some time where you can try to trade him, but your hands are tied a little bit because of the DFA process and not having any options remaining.
Yeah, it's like that out of options. Obviously, players in the minor leagues, they get on a 40-man in the roster, and then they have a set period of time where they can be optioned to the minors, and after that time, they can't anymore. So it's a good thing at times for players because it's like, hey, they have to be forced to be on the roster, and if they're gonna get off, they have to be passed through waivers. But unfortunately, sometimes it kind of limits, the team's options in terms of not having a guy that can go up and down if he's in that kind of bench role, et cetera. And for Eggy, it's tough because he's a guy our international group signed. He's kind of gone level at a time. He's got ability, and he's shown he's a major league player. And I think we saw that again all spring. He's a good defender. He's a capable defender in a lot of different spots. He can hit a home run. He can steal a base. So that was one of those decisions that was very tough, but my guess is here we have about a week here to make a roster move with him. There are teams that are interested in him in a trade. So, my guess is he'll get an opportunity to go somewhere and play, and he deserves it, because he helped us out last year. And, unfortunately, the clock ran out a little bit on us. And it's tough, too, when you're a young player that's kind of breaking in on a veteran team with a lot of star regular players. It just limits that opportunity, and then you got to make decisions about your bench. So, but Eggy, think the world of him. I think he'll go out and play well somewhere else, is my guess, and we'll see what happens here down the road.
Well, it's always hard, because for you, the opportunity to maybe move Eggy Rosario, and like you said, he's a big league player. He catches on with whoever, Chicago or something, and hits 25 home runs. Everybody looks to you and says, "Oh, well, why didn't you keep Eggy Rosario?" I mean, it's not an easy thing you do, AJ Preller, and I give you a lot of credit for how well you do it. But yeah, some are going to get away from time to time. But then, you see conversely a guy like Gavin Sheets who cut by the worst team in baseball. You pick him up, you see something in him, comes out and delivers on opening day in a pinch hit, game-tying home run. What a moment for Padres fans. What a moment for Gavin Sheets. And I have to imagine what a moment for AJ Preller yesterday a little bit.
I mean, it's exciting. Just like, you see a guy like Gavin who's again, somebody like this whole off season that we had a lot of conversation with. And, I think, again, like those conversations, it's fun to see a moment like yesterday and really all spring where you're like, all right, this is, you kind of look back at, like Pete DeYoung on the pro side. Schulte had conversations with him. Mike McCoy and Victor on the hitting side that have been working with him and making some adjustments throughout spring training. It's just like Josh Stein talking to him. I mean, it's a recruiting pitch, but it's also just like, seen a player that, the group feels like can potentially help us. And I mean, one swing of the bat yesterday changed that game and really won us a baseball game. It was a big part of it. So, it's, again, that's all part of the process from the front office and scouting. And then you have a coaching staff that's able to take a guy, make some adjustments, and good start yesterday. It's hard to find left-handed power. Yeah. He's in really good shape. He's a good, his dad played in the big leagues, a good guy. There's some history there from some of our coaches and him. And he came in and helped us. And you're going to need those contributions all year long. And he got off to a great start yesterday, and hopefully he keeps it going.
Talking to AJ Preller here on a Friar Friday with Ben and Woods. And AJ, I want to talk about Jackson Merrill. Obviously, he's a burgeoning star. I saw so many Jackson Merrill jerseys around downtown yesterday. But what continues to floor me, he had a game yesterday I think a 15-year veteran would appreciate. The way he brought in runs, did everything that was required of him at the plate, made the plays in the field, probably the best play of the day. As you scout tools, you can measure bat speed and foot speed and all kinds of things when your scouts go out. Makeup is probably a harder thing to scout, but Jackson seems to have is that the best baseball makeup you've really ever seen from a guy? He's 21 and he continues to floor me with his attitude every time I see him and talk to him. What lab did you guys create him in?
Yeah, I mean, Jackson, again, I think, I think I've said this a few times, kind of sneaking in to see him in high school because he was a guy that wasn't quite on the radar for a lot of teams. And, watching from, I don't know, 300 yards away or so, basically the one thing that shined through with Jackson was a good player, but that he was there to win and compete, in terms of win the game with his boys from his high school team. More than anybody that personally I had seen that spring. And I know it kind of sounds maybe doesn't everybody do that, but just like you're talking about, I mean, it's just a different level of compete, and he's just a winner, and it's hard to quantify that sometimes. But I think yesterday in the lunchroom I saw him and before the game and just said, hey, you prepare for sale, you got a game plan. He said, just try to get a base hit to left field, and you see that at bat in the first inning where, he kind of understands game situation and is able to, I mean, Sale's jumping up to 97, 98, crossfire from the left side, and Jackson finds a breaking ball and is able just to serve a base hit up the middle like you'd said a few hours earlier. So it's, again, we've got a lot of good competitors, and Jackson, he's up there with from what really looks to winning baseball players. He brings it, and it's fun to see him in that moment. He's been doing that really since he's been in the organization, so it's fun to watch.
Well, we were kind of joking yesterday on the broadcast, AJ, that this has been a pretty, you've made a lot of moves, right? You brought in a lot of guys, some familiar faces, some guys like Kyle Hart, really the first I'd heard of Kyle Hart when you picked him up. I always loved that about you. But for you not wheeling and dealing as much as you normally do during spring training, was that by design? Was that difficult? We picture in our heads you sitting on your hands going, I want to make it. We got to do something, just because that's what we've been accustomed to seeing from you. Why the, I guess I'll say, outrageously different approach this offseason?
I mean, it's, again, every year is a little bit different. I think part of it too is we have that core nucleus, so it's not like we're trying to fill, which is, all by design. I think something that sat down and talked with Peter and Ron about over the years. Obviously something that Peter believed in, wholeheartedly. And, you get that core nucleus. You shouldn't look out if you have a good group and a winning group and have to make 10, 12 different changes every single year. Hopefully you have a team that you believe in. And, when you have guys like Merrill and Tatis and Manny and Bogart and Cromer and on, it's like, all right, now you're filling in around those guys. And every offseason is a little bit different, the timing of it. I think, people, I think you look back at last offseason, and it was pretty quiet, I think, too, for most of the offseason. And then we were able to do some things when we made the Cease deal at the end of spring. Yep. We made the Arise deal a month in. And then, I think Solano and Peralta, as you got into May and June, and then we were active at the deadline. So it's kind of like every year is a little different. There's been some years where we've been more aggressive in the off season. This year we were a little bit more aggressive late with some of the end of spring training roster decisions, and then the Pavetta signing right before spring training. And it's always a work in progress, the roster. It's I think we're always looking for opportunity. So again, we'll kind of get into the year, and the bottom line is that we were trying to put a product that can win a World Series. So there's different types of activity and different levels, different years. This year was, more quiet until we got to spring training. And I feel like it's been active in spring training, more with guys that we had in our camp, and we'll keep looking to improve if we can and go from there.
And I know that fans are curious, working with John Seidler, the new control person. If you need to be aggressive against this season, knowing the teams, you're already over the CBT luxury tax level, the second threshold, and you need pick up another starter at some point for whatever reason, are you going to be authorized to have that level of aggression again this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think yesterday in the before the season started there in that scrum. Personally, I think it's year 11 now. Maybe I've had a lot of different setups, and it's been Mike D, and then Ron Fowler and Peter, and then Peter, and and Eric Katsenda, and and with John in place, I could just tell you, everybody I've worked with and for, they want to win, and they understand this is about bringing a championship to San Diego. John's a baseball fan. I mean, he went to 60+ games last year. It's, you talk about our guys and our players, like he was living it last year for sure. So, again, like, we're here to win a World Series. I think, everybody feels it from our players, our staff, hopefully from our front office. It's all about trying to get to that big stage and doing it year after year. So, I think the commitment is there, and, it's fun to be a part of it from an organization at top to bottom. And you just look at that ballpark yesterday. I think before it started, I said to Eric Rubner, I was like, this place is amazing. Like, honestly, you look at that field and you're like, it's like, it still looks like it's brand new. And then the energy the fans bring, I think everybody's just so excited to have baseball back in San Diego. You can feel it from the fan base. So it energizes us. I think it energizes John. And, again, I think the goal is the same, like go out and win, and the commitment is there. And we're going to keep doing what we need to do to try to put a team on the field that gets to October every year.
Well, AJ, we missed the scrum because Ben was intoxicated downtown.
So
we
were
were
you.
all running around doing shots. It was our 7th anniversary as a show, so we apologize.
Thank you for the cake. We got the cake.
We
you
got
sent
the
with
cake.
The Pod Squad and the Friar. Thank you.
And my wife is here. She was too afraid to ask you a question, but she did want to say hello. So go ahead, babe.
Hi, AJ.
Well, it sounds like you guys had a good day.
We did. We had a great time.
She's here for your real estate needs in Encinitas.
That's right. Yeah. Anytime you need anything, you let us know. Thank you, man.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, guys.
Good luck
Thanks for
tonight,
having
AJ.
me.
Thank you, buddy.